Hello and welcome to At the Redline Podcast. My name's Alec Gonzales. This is Stephen Hicks at Thriving Body Holistic Fitness. Stephen is a health and fitness coach that we met at the Friday Conversations and talked about maybe getting together for the podcast. I always like to start with, the beginning. What was your childhood like? Where were you born? Family of origin, siblings, mom and dad, that kind of stuff?
To Spokane when I was 3. So
Okay.
I grew up here. My siblings are 7 and 8 years older than me. And I think my parents probably got a little tired of the parenting thing. I was a little bit of a latchkey kid. So between sports and work,
What school did you go to at high school?
I went to North Central High School.
No kidding.
Yeah.
Well, you know the Wardells then. Doug and Lori Wardell.
Yeah, they're fantastic.
I know. Doug's my best friend.
Oh, Doug. Doug's a character.
Yeah, Doug and Lori have been best friends of our family since their kids were born. Yeah.
The Wardells, I don't know if you know the Walters as well.
Doug and Lori,
Yeah.
their association with North Central and their kids running track. Did you
Yep.
run with the boys
I did.
and girls?
I'm a year older than Spencer.
Okay.
Yeah,
How
so-
cool is that?
Yeah, absolutely. It's a great family. I actually, as a shout out to the Wardells, I don't know if they know this. A few years ago, me and some college friends had a Hoop Fest team,
Yeah.
and the Wardells were nice enough to host us when we came into the town for a spaghetti dinner. There were a few different, because they're very active. There was a few different Hoop Fest teams that were there at that time, and I remember my best friend. He grew up in Odessa, Washington, and he was just flabbergasted by the hospitality.
Oh, yeah.
He became really jealous because, in the Washington State cross country space, he was like, "Those North Central guys are they're different. They have a real community of family vibe to them," and he got to experience that, and it was
That's cool.
gobsmacked by the Wardells.
Nice. I can't wait for Doug to see this. That's awesome.
Well, I've got a steel rod in my left knee.
Oh, no kidding.
Yeah, so I've got a steel rod, 3 pins, 5 screws, reconstructed tibia, and it really led to about 3.5 months of bed rest, which is an experience, to say the least.
Wow.
It's definitely an experience, and as a fitness coach, that was a significant moment in my life as well as my career, because it forced some changes. It changed perspectives, because after the 3.5 months of bed rest, I got to a point where my fitness was non-existent, and I just having to take a break after 3 steps after a cross-country runner with the Wardells. It's a different exposure.
Yeah.
And then being a lifelong athlete, the reconstructed knee, there's a lot of things that I just don't do anymore, right? The maximum weight lifted on squats, the sprinting, the jumping, they're things that I can't really do. I can't push the body to its absolute limits anymore. And that made me, when you're laying in bed for 4.5 months, you have a lot of time to philosophize. So I kind of had to figure out what was next for me as a career. I couldn't walk around the gym. I couldn't stand as a personal trainer. And was fitness even worth it if you can't push the body to the limits? And I remember crutching in my brother's house. I'm the world's best uncle. I have a t-shirt at home to prove that. But I was crutching into my brother's house, and my nephew came running up, just so excited. "Uncle's here!" And he was 3 at the time. And my brother had to catch him and hold him back and be like, you can't play with Uncle. He's hurt. And if you ever tell a 3-year-old boy not to play, it's the greatest tragedy in the world. And in that moment, I realized health and wellness and fitness is not about pushing your body to the limits. It's about being capable of who you want to be and share it with who you want to share it with.
Yeah.
Yeah. So I grew up Baptist, and was kind of on and off with the Baptist church for a while. I just, as a little kid, the book of Revelations terrified me, right? So I didn't want it to be true. And in middle school, got into kind of that hip hop phase, right? So I would rather be a wankster than a goody good. And Then I went to Bible camp. My sister made me go to Bible camp, like 7th grade. And you spend a week with people in a camp. You start to feel things, right? So I got back into the church. It also helped that my high school girlfriend went to Driscoll Baptist, so I became a Baptist again. Funny how that happens. But then in my senior year of high school, I read the Poisonwood Bible by Barbara Kingsolver. And it just also 9/11 was a big turning point in high school. And or not high school, it was younger than that. But between tragedies like the terrorism acts and with the hypocrisy of the missionaries in Africa I was reading about in the Poisonwood Bible, it just created a lot of doubt about an all-powerful and all-loving God. But I've always been fascinated with religion. And so I kept studying religion, and I kind of based around Abner Neeland. This is wild. Abner Neeland was the last person in America to be imprisoned for the crime of blasphemy, because his idea was that all of this is God, right? And that we kind of spring out of, and so he's got this religious naturalism where kind of like the ancient Greeks and the Platonists believed in nature, right? As kind of the supreme good and force and flow of things. And as I explained it before, with 16 years in the fitness industry, I just understand the human body more than I understand God. So to relate that, I just kind of think of everything as a human body. Mm-hmm. And then within the human body, your human body is not one thing. You're a collection of, I think, 30 trillion cells. So there's a lot of little pieces, and I think we're all kind of the cells of the greater. And then within each cell, what kind of unites and informs and empowers everything is kind of our DNA, right? The DNA in your left pinky toe has all the code for the hair on the top of your head, not the hair on the top of my head, but the hair on yours. And it's got the ability to make that, right? So for me, I think that concept of God as like the DNA of the universe rather than a separate being makes more sense to me. And it's kind of how I kind of have this religious naturalist view.
Okay.
I would say I kind of have two origin stories. There's the beginning of the industry is in college. I was a cross country runner. I got injured, couldn't continue to run. So I went back to my middle school dreams of being Arnold Schwarzenegger.
Nice.
Usually if you're, a massive guy and trying to run a mile, they don't go together. So put one on hold to be a runner. And when running went away, I started lifting weights. I put on like 30 pounds my fall semester, my sophomore year. And when I came back, my dad saw the changes and he was like, I could use a change. Why don't you do that for me? And I got in my room the entire winter break. I made like this 12-month plan. Looking back, it was a horrible plan. I didn't know what I was doing. But I had so much fun doing that. I thought that I'd go back to school, change my major to exercise sciences, and I'd just go help people enjoy the hobby that I had with fitness.
Nice.
And then so kind of started off like, I think that's the same origin story as like every fitness professional. They were lifelong athletes, lifelong enthusiasts, and they just wanted to share that with other people. Mm-hmm. With the knee injury, realizing that fitness is not about pushing the body to the limits and that it's instead a gateway to have more control over your life and a gateway to more joy and more happiness and more capability. I think that's kind of my second origin story. So a lot of the fitness industry is still based around that sports performance model. But with the knee injury and all the process around that, and just, I'm really focused on trying to just open gateways, open doorways to more stamina, more energy, more capability, less pain, just more joy in life. I think the most toxic ingredient that we have in processed food, you won't find on the labels. It's not an ingredient. It's not a preservative. It's not a food dye. It's not salt or fat or sugar. I think it's convenience. I think convenience is the most toxic ingredient that we've got, of people's willingness to passively suffer, to just kind of sit in the muck and not change things, but just to exist in the yuck. A lot of people sacrifice flavor, nutrition, they sacrifice their health just for convenience sometimes.
Interesting.
Yeah. So I'm no longer the meathead coach, right? So the fitness industry is based around athletics, and if that's something that you're interested in, everything works, right? Everything's been made for that. I'm really interested in kind of the personal growth person, the self-help junkie that wants to have more control over their life. They want to have more confidence. They want to live life on their own terms. And they know that fitness is a gateway to feel better, but not necessarily like their defining quality. So I really work well with people who fitness is not their top priority, probably won't be, but they still want to feel their best every day.
Okay.
So yeah, that's kind of that's my bread and butter, is people that the athletic world has failed usually do really well in mine, because we talk about supporting and nurturing the body instead of fighting it.
Okay.
And so if that's interesting to you, you can find out a little bit more about my philosophy in a little 5-minute video that I got on my website, thrivingbody.fit/innovations. And if you want to have a conversation, you can email me, Steven, Steven, at thrivingbody.fit.
Okay. And I'll just put it right here in the banner.
Sweet.
It'll be easy to find.
It might be like here or something. As a business owner, there's this eternal struggle. You wear two hats. You have the coaching hat of what you're doing, how you're helping people, how you're showing up, and how you're serving. And then there's the business owner hat of how do you create systems? What routines do you have? How do you scale? How do you market? How do you sell? And honestly, the last couple of years, I've probably been wearing the business owner hat far too often. The balance is way off. I've been putting a real strong emphasis on wearing the coaching hat much more, and showing up and serving and helping people a lot more. I've been having some really phenomenal conversations outside of sales. And we had a conversation, created a exercise plan that was feasible and reasonable for where she is right now. And to give some background, before the conversation, she was, just daily activity, right? Doing errands, shopping with her family. After about 20 minutes of out and about time, she would have to be relegated to a mechanized chair to kind of help assist get through the day. Now we've been working together and her endurance is doubling and going further. She's closer to an hour without really without that punishing her, right? So she's able to spend more time with her family. She's able to do more. She's able to live more. And our exercise plan has just been 30 seconds a day. It's completely different than what I've been doing with people in the past, but just being able to show up and make a difference in someone's life. I'm really focusing 2026. My intention this year has been Michelangelo, which goes off the Michelangelo effect. The sculptor, the old Renaissance guy, used to have this quote that said, when he sees a piece of granite, he sees the sculpture inside and then just shapes it to fit, right? And in psychology, we talk about the Michelangelo effect. People rise or fall to what other people around them see in them, right? If they see a beautiful sculpture in that rough granite, people become a more beautiful sculpture. And so my big focus this year is just seeing more in people, helping them carve that out and become that beautiful sculpture in their own life. And it's been really rewarding. I'm really proud, and like the conversations I'm having, I feel more energized afterwards. I'm really proud of the work I'm doing. We're doing great things. I'm helping a lot more people already, and that's what I'm looking for this year, is just to be more Michelangelo.
It came from a conversation I was having with my wife, who is an interpreter for the deaf in our church. Okay. And she was saying, one thing I notice about the deaf community is they're also incredibly unique. And I have noticed in the coaching practice that everybody is really genius. They might not all have the same level of intelligence, but in them, within them, is some really cool spark of genius. Yeah. When you, and it's why judging people is so ridiculously stupid.
It is,
because people are really awesome.
Yeah, and you.
Stephen, thank you for coming on my podcast. I really appreciate it.
Yeah, absolutely.
All right. We'll see you next time. This is Alec Gonzales with Coaching the Red Line. I'm a life coach and spiritual director for pastors and leaders in the local church. If you know someone who might need a coach or a spiritual director, especially if they're a pastor or a leader of a small congregation anywhere in the country or even in the world, I'd love an opportunity to talk. Have a great day, and we'll talk next time.